So I guess that as you have taken already module 1, you have now a better idea capitalization is. And when we go back to the definition that is given, experience capitalization is a systematic process. It's iterative because you can start it at different places and you can go back to one of the different phases. And I will show you this in the cycle. It's also a participatory process. And the reason why it is because it is participatory, you need someone to help this participation, and this is why facilitation is also helping the participatory process. Um, the experience is analyzed. It's not just to understand better how and why things are happening that way, documented, and this creates knowledge that can be shared and used to generate change. The three words in different languages that you see there is because systematization is what has been used very often in Latin America. Even so, Jorge, who is from Peru, will tell us that he prefers to have capitalización de experiencias, which is in French capitalisation d'expérience, and which is the title we have used for this course, which is experience capitalization. But in English, other words have been used like process documentation, lessons learning, but we prefer to use experience capitalization because it captures it all. Um, the benefits of experience capitalization, you have seen this in one of the first lessons, it's to increase the knowledge as a group, but also your own knowledge, and also to increase your learning about how you learn. It enables to avoid knowledge loss, to avoid reinventing the wheel. And when you're working this way, of course, the work is a lot better, so it's more efficiency and effectiveness. Of course, the purpose is to generate change, improve, adopt, adapt, scale up. And while you're doing this, and because this is a participatory process, it also enables to build team and networks. And when you have done the work of having analyzed and documented, you're able to be better advocate for what you're working on. And you can also influence policy making. So these are all these benefits. You recognize now the cycle of experience capitalization. And I was telling you that we had different phases. So the the phases that we have in this course is the preparation phase, then we have the implementation phase, and then we have the generating change phase. And all around, we have facilitation because we need to facilitate the process at the different stages. The process with the first stage of the preparation is divided in two parts. Framing to know what for, who for, um, and with whom, and who's going to do it, and on what you're going to do it. And the planning is how you're going to do it and when you're going to do it. So this is what you will see in module 3. When you are in the implementation phase, which is in the turquoise in the cycle, the implementation phase is composed of 4 different steps. First, to gather and to organize the information, the data you have. Then, how you're going to analyze this data. And here again, in analyzing it, we are using facilitation methodologies because it enables to actually look at things differently. And it's also important to do it with different actors that have been evolved to have the different perceptions and to understand from the different perception how and why things went this way. Then we are arriving in the documentation, and this is why we are going to focus on communication, how to write a communication plan to know exactly what is the audience, what is the preferred support of the audience, and why do you document? You document because you want to share. You want to share with different type of channels what you have learned, what you have documented. And the, the last phase is generating change. And in generating change, we have the phase of adoption, adaptation, and scaling up. But we also have what is important as a learning organization and as a knowledge organization to mainstream this capitalization process. So this becomes a regular activity in what you're doing and the way you're working. And now I am in our outer circle, which is facilitating, because this is a participatory approach, because it's important to have the different perspective of people and also to make sure that people are on board. So what is facilitation? This is the module 2. So I have taken just a few slides from from the lessons, and the facilitation helps to capture the different experiences and opinion. This is what I was mentioning with the different perspective, and to be able to analyze and to also learn the lessons from the experiences. And this is why we have shared with you a few methods like after action review, the thinking hat, and there is the full grid of 26 methods that we have selected for this course that you can use. There are many more than 26 that we have highlighted, but these 26 are quite effective, and that's why we recommend them to use this. So when you are having a facilitator, the discussion you're going to have around the table with the different participants will be more effective, more goal-oriented, and time efficient. And what if I have just to say one thing about the role of the facilitator is actually not working on the content. The facilitator is really supporting the process. So making sure that the right methods are selected so that we are getting the content out of the participants. So it's very important that the facilitators do understand what we are talking about, but that the facilitators select the right way to actually get out all the knowledge out of the people. Um, there are, of course, different facilitation purpose and techniques. And what we really must do as facilitator is to maintain the focus of the participant, to build trust in the room, so make sure that there is a good atmosphere. And this is why we have also icebreaker and some exercise that enables to build this trust, to have the good atmosphere. We encourage participation, meaning that people are equal, um, and everybody has the right to speak, but the way you're giving the possibility to speak is what you will do as a facilitator with the different tools and methods. This will also enable you to avoid having conflicts and try to find ways to actually listen to people, understand what they want to do, but keeping the time. So active listening is really something very important as quality. Make sure that you are asking, answering questions, but summarizing things, synthesizing, and trying to also clarify the discussion and do a little summary so that people are on board. What we really like when preparing a workshop is the 4 Ps. And the 4 Ps is purpose, participant, process, and payoff. Um, what is the purpose? So if you're having your first workshop, and this is actually the assignment of that you have in module 2, you have to think about what is going to be the purpose of this workshop when I am in this experience capitalization process. At which stage of the capitalization process am I? Am I here to actually decide with the rest of the group what we want to capitalize on? Or is it already, we have already decided, but we have some results and we need to analyze them? So the purpose in this case will be to analyze the results. You have to know who are the people participating, and you have to know if you have the right people in the room, making sure that you haven't forgotten anybody. And therefore it's important to know what what will be the payoff for the participants, but also the payoff for you as an organizer, and to make sure that your purpose will be fulfilled at the end of the meeting. And this is why the process, this P about process is quite important, because you are going to identify the right methods and tools you're going to use during the workshop to make it happen and to have your good result at the end. So the 4 Ps for us is a regular way that we prepare our meetings that we facilitate. I have added here the matrix with the 26 methods and tools. When you are in the course and when you're doing the lessons, each of them are being explained. And you you remember I said that when you do analyzing, which is lesson 4.2 in the e-learning course, but that lesson is as another number in our blended learning program. So when you are in the lesson about analyzing, you will be able to also have more methods. So when you're doing the lessons on facilitation and the lessons about analyzing, you will have all these 26 methods. And you can, of course, ask a few questions during now the webinar to know more about these methods. I also wanted to add that Jorge has been working on this facilitation guide for experience capitalization. This is the guidebook, and you have the URL where you can download the presentation. And Jorge has done also a series of several webinars that we will also share with you later on this module. So if you're interested in listening to what Jorge did last year on facilitation, you will be able to hear these webinars again. So this is really what, in a nutshell, what I wanted to tell you. I'm going to go back to the cycle here so that we have the view of the whole process. And now I will open the floor to the questions and also give the opportunity to Jorge to say a few more words about what he did.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you, Sophie. Um, yeah, I liked it that you finished by showing this guidebook which we prepared, because that actually came at the end of the project we were working with, and when we realized that we are all facilitating and we are all trying to make a process easier, and somehow we missed some document which could help us. us included, of course, see how to go about it and what to do and how to facilitate ourselves, our work as facilitators. I think you have made a very good summary of the main issues that are involved here. I just wanted to add a few things, like when we talk about, if I may say, put it here, what is facilitation? I think it's very clear that when we talk about facilitation, we want to actually facilitate a process. The question is, when we're talking about experience capitalization, why do we need it? And you also mentioned some words here. We need to pay special attention to the facilitation process because we are interested in a participatory process, which means that we are going to have many different persons intervening, different persons at different moments having different opinions. And it helps if we try to coordinate this, we try to guide it, and we try to steer the process so that at the end of the day, we get where we want to get. Um, who is this person? That's another thing. You highlight here the role of the facilitator, and this person has to do this or do that and make sure that the process is completed. But sometimes we also have to think of who plays this role. In some cases, we do it ourselves within our organizations and we facilitate a process within our organizations, which means that we know a lot about what the organization is doing, what the organization wants to do. But many times we are also, or some groups ask for an external facilitator. I think that's important to think a little bit about that because both cases have pros and cons. In some cases, it is better to have somebody from the outside. In some cases, it is better to have somebody who is inside the group and who, as I said, knows a little bit more about the organization. Whether it is somebody from the outside or somebody from the inside, the facilitator needs to have some skills. And you have already mentioned some of these. We need to be able to get people together. We need to be able to understand what people are saying. And many times we also need to give some advice as to what are we talking about, how to go about it, how to follow a specific technique or tool, etc. But something which I think very important is the facilitator is also a manager, and especially a time manager. As facilitators, we have to make sure that we reach the objectives, because at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to make sure that the whole group gets to where we want to get. You mentioned, well, these different tools, of course, the idea of planning. I think that these four P's becomes very handy. But I would emphasize that it is not just planning for one workshop. When we're talking about facilitating an experience capitalization process, we are facilitating a process, which may mean much more than one workshop. So we also have to uh, plan and see who's going to participate in discussions which may take place before a workshop or during a series of workshops. Those are all the things that we have to pay attention to, and which are, of course, part of the process and part of our tasks, which means that if we are let's say, trying to get people to discuss with each other, and it is online, then we need to be able to use online tools as the way we are doing right now. We need to be able to synthesize these opinions. We need to be able to share these opinions, and we need to use the different tools so that we are all, as I said, able to reach the specific objectives. You have here a very nice table. And what I especially like about this table is that you're giving advice as to what tools or what techniques to use at specific moments. It is important to emphasize here that we have different moments. No, as you have mentioned, when we are talking about a capitalization process, we start by selecting the case, we start planning, we gather information, then we need to analyze, then we need to write. All of these are different moments, and at different moments, we will have different participants. In most cases, we will have maybe uh, working from different environments. We will have to do different things. So that means that we have to, in advance, pay attention to which are the tools which are going to help us do that, and which are the tools which are going to help get people engaged, get people share their opinions, get people discuss with each other, collect information, etc., etc. So I would say that something like this table is one of the most important things to do at the beginning of a process. And then to see, okay, how do we adapt it? How do we use what, given the context, given the circumstances? What happens if some of the participants are not really um, participating? How do we engage them? How do we collect the information? And how do we provide feedback so that at the end of the day, I said, we reach where we want to go? In these cases, we might think, and I'm finishing here, that it might be important, for example, to organize a field visit. That's also the task of the facilitator. In some cases, we need to decide if we're going to be working with larger groups or with smaller groups. Deciding the option which is most convenient is also the task of the facilitator. And then just to finish, I would like to emphasize this idea that many of the activities that we are going to be doing are going to be online. Nowadays, we have more and more facilities to use online tools, possibilities. We can use webinars as we're doing right now. We can use the email. We can use all these different tools that are there for service, for chat, for discussions, for communities. Many times we don't have the possibility of bringing everybody together. And then it is convenient not to bring people together, but just to engage people in different ways. So again, the task of the facilitator is also to explore all these new possibilities and to learn in the same way as we are learning right now how to use them and how to make the best of them. So yeah, this to finish this guidebook, of course, it is there. You're very welcome to download it, and I'd be happy if you do. But I'd be even happier if you share your ideas and if you go through it and then tell us, because you all have experience, you've all been facilitating. Tell us what is missing. Tell us what should we be paying more attention to, and then we can improve it and then make an even better process every time. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your questions and to hearing from you all. Back to you, Sophie.
Thank you very much, Jorge. I have seen a few questions already asking more about the role of the facilitator. So, Sophia is asking, who is helping the facilitator to document the meeting and participants' reflection? So when we are doing facilitation, we are using a flip chart. We are trying to use a visual aid, and all the different methods um, are being documented on big flip charts on paper with cards. And what is important is that you're taking pictures of these all this information you gathered. And you remember I said the facilitator is in charge of the process, but the organizer of the workshop, the team who is holding the experience, they are in charge of the content. So it is and you see, we said it is a participatory process because it's not only one person holding everything. You have different roles. So the role of the facilitator is to facilitate the process, but other members of the team will need to pay more attention to the content. So, who is helping the facilitators? Those who are in charge of the experience itself, and those who have asked the facilitator to help them facilitating the process. You are going to say, but if I am a facilitator and I am also holding this process, should I do it? And I would say, yes, you do it, but you never have to do it alone. So you have to make sure that in your team, you will give different tasks to different people so that together you can come up with a final product, the final product of the event that you have facilitated, or the different events that were facilitated, or the different results of the different steps of the whole facilitation process.
Sophie, may I add? Yeah. Okay. So it like any process, experience capitalization and the process of the facilitation is going kind of the same phases. So as you learned from the course, facilitation also before the facilitation you do planning. So you discuss with people who organizing the or with project managers or who organizing the event, etc. What especially your needs and what are the expectations of those who is leading the process or owners of the process. So it is important at that time to clarify all these issues. And the question also was so whether the facilitator could be outsourced. It could be, but it could be even within the team or within the organization or within the project. So it is very important that facilitators knows their roles, what he or she has to undertake, and what is methods he can or she can best use for the purpose of the meeting, etc. And it is also important to know that even at the best planning, you may, as a facilitator, you may face some unexpected challenges. The most important, you feel confident because you know the process. Maybe you don't know the content 100%, but still you know the process and how to lead the facilitation. As for those who could help you with taking notes, you can initially, it could be your co-facilitator or whom you're doing the facilitation. It could be your assistant, or it could be someone who is nominated from the organization who is organizing the event. Or you may even ask the participants who could help you with taking notes, and many participants would be gladly to help you with taking notes, etc. Because this is a process, as Sophie said, this is a participatory process, and when you create this friendly environment, so the process goes smoothly. This is important. So facilitators should follow strict rules, but there are also the rooms for flexibility. Thank you.